Welcome to Point Blank, brought to you by Fitz Roofing. I'm Brandon Stranger Sports Map Houston. That's Joel Blank of the Killer Bees. You can listen to him on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5 weekdays from noon to 3. Hey, hit subscribe on the channel, click like on the video, comment below. We appreciate it. Hey, Joel, welcome in. Man, Deshaun Watson, it's hard to know what's going on with this story because we keep getting conflicting reports. We got conflicting reports that there was compensation that had been agreed upon. Now we're hearing that's not the case. We hear reports that Deshaun had eased up on the no trade clause and was open to other teams. Now we're hearing, nope, it's back to just Miami. We had heard that a trade was imminent, that a deal would be done by the deadline, but we keep getting reports to the contrary. The only thing that would lead one to believe that a deal could be done prior to the deadline is the league finally stepped up and said that there's not enough information for them to take action at this time, which seems to indicate that if he were traded, that perhaps he could play this year. That's the only thing. And yet we still keep hearing that Miami doesn't want to do a deal until all of the legal things are settled. And we're also hearing that Deshaun doesn't want to settle those legal things until they can agree upon there not being an NDA. So, Joel, you have been saying for quite a while that you did not see a path for this to happen this year. Has your stance changed at all hearing what you've heard now?
No, Brandon. And aside from all the things that you said, the reason why is this is your most valuable asset as the Houston Texans. You don't have anybody else on your roster that's worth even a quarter of what he could bring to the table. The most ideal situation was the situation a week ago when you heard multiple teams were involved. You heard as late as yesterday the Panthers were still involved. They now wanted in because Sam Darnold looked like he should be out. He was terrible. He got benched. Now the Panthers owner comes out this morning and says, we're not interested right now. So it leaves one team. If you're Nick Caserio, you need to push up the value by having competition between more than one team and then trying to continue to up the ante until it gets to a point where you feel it's worth your while. If it's not, if you're Miami and you're only bidding against yourself, what behooves you to want to push the price up? You're not going to get the value you want or you need for this franchise, so why make a deal? He's not going anywhere. If you don't trade him by the deadline next Tuesday, then guess what? He's on your roster, which he was going to be anyway. You pay him what you were going to do anyway. But then at the end of the year, when the draft is coming up, you know where everybody's picking, how many picks they have. Hopefully by then, a lot of this will have played out with Deshaun in terms of his deposition and where the court cases stand, what the league is deciding on. And then you can proceed forward from there. Hopefully then also you'll find other teams that are in need of a quarterback because their quarterback situation has gotten worse. And then you can push the price back up. Nothing in my mind says that the Texans should make a deal right now unless you get multiple teams involved.
And on that note, even if you are Deshaun, and even if you only want to go to Miami, what would be your motivation to put that out there that you only want to go to one team? Because as you said, it's going to be the competition that drives up the price, even if at the end of the day, that is the way that he feels about it. Why would he want that out there? And do you think that it's his side that is putting it out there?
I think that there's both sides putting a lot of information out there. I think a lot of the information we got last week was the Texans putting it out there, hoping that it would cause another team to want to get involved, going, wait a minute, before Miami gets first dibs, we need to get in on this too. I think both sides put up a lot of minutia and innuendo right now out there in the media so that it can generate something that's in their best interest. But I think that from the standpoint of when you say Miami, the one thing that Nick Caserio has to take a page out of the Rockets book and learn from is the James Harden trade. I understand Deshaun has a no-trade clause. At the end of the day, he's going to go pretty much anywhere that a team wants him because he needs to find a place to play again. And so you've got to have teams that want you. But the biggest mistake Nick Caserio can make is, well, I'm going to only trade Deshaun where he wants to go. Now, what I would say is right off the top, he should say, give me a list of teams you're open to being traded to. Once that list is submitted, all bets are off. I don't want to hear from Deshaun again because now I know who I'm dealing with. Now I know what I can possibly get for him, and then I'm going that route. I'm not going the James Harden route, and I'm not going to trade a guy who doesn't want to be with me anymore to wherever he absolutely ideally wants to go and make him as happy as possible while I'm not happy with what I get in return. That's what Nick Caserio has to be most careful about.
I want to talk to you about the media's role in this saga. But before we do that, give us a word for Fitz Roofing.
We love the people at Fitz Roofing because they take care of you, the Houstonians that are in need of a repair for your roof on your business or your house, or a new roof, or maybe house repairs or a fence in your yard. They do all that and so much more. Go to fitzroofing.com and see all the ways they can help you. And then call 832-521-3001 for a free no-obligation inspection. It costs you absolutely nothing. They come to you and tell you what they can do. You want them to come back. You book the appointment before, during, and after. after the work is completed, they do fantastic and have the best warranties ratings in the business, and they take care of you every step of the way. Fitz Roofing, making a difference one home at a time.
Okay, so if a deal doesn't get done before the deadline, there's going to be a couple of sources that are going to look pretty bad from this. And one's John McClain, one's Mark Berman of Fox 26. How are they getting played so hard in this scenario?
Well, I think it's because of the source that it's coming from. I think in a lot of ways, and especially with the names that you mentioned, and one in particular, they have connections to the basically highest levels of the Houston Texans. And if they believe that something's going to happen, then there's a pretty good chance that there's been discussions internally that have led everybody to think down that route. But at the same time, it still takes more than a handshake at the end of the day to get a deal done. And monkey wrenches happen, and things that can blow up a deal last minute happen. Sometimes leaking it out to the media can be the reason why these things don't get done. I think that while everything was being done under the radar, everything was progressing. But the day after John McClain and Mark Berman's stories came out, there was comments made that this could actually stunt the deal simply because now everybody's aware of what's going on. Owners are putting things out there. General managers and players are putting things out there. At the end of the day, you don't know who to believe, because from day to day, as you mentioned to start this video, things change. One day, there's 5 teams involved. The next day, there's only 1. Everything changes on the drop of a hat.
But what does that do to torpedo a franchise's reputation? Because if those sources are from the very top and they're putting out disinformation, what does that do? Because you've got these reputable sources who can't believe what you say. And to your point, this disinformation may have actually blown up in their face, and it may actually blown up potential deals that were on the table. How bad does this set you back as a franchise?
I don't know if you can be set back any further than the Texans have already set themselves back. So I don't know if that really bothers them all that much. I think the bigger thing is that it's still a need to know basis, and sources still need to get the word out, and journalists still need the word. So I think that no matter how many times you're burned, you're still going back to that candle, that bonfire, that towering inferno, because the Mark Bermans of the world are known for being scoop and breaking stories. And the only way they break stories is by getting information from sources. They're not going to stop going there unless something happens drastically, and this isn't drastic enough. Unfortunately for the consumer, they get so caught up in every single tweet and every single piece of breaking news, they believe it's all 100% true. And in most cases, as Tom Brady said earlier this year, 99% of the stuff that he fed the media was completely false, and he doesn't care. So that's where I think the disconnect happens. People buy into it way too much and believe far too many people.